In this video discussion, we're going to ask ourselves about enlightenment. We're going to try to determine, well, are you enlightened? Or how far on the path of enlightenment are you? And by the end of this video discussion, we're going to try to establish and answer those questions. It'll also give us a type of gauge, so to speak, for understanding the potential enlightenment of others. Now, these might seem like perplexing questions or issues to answer, but actually they're relatively easy. So let's start with something we're familiar with. In the Bible, Christ said, "No one can see the kingdom of God unless they be born again." Now that's kind of strange language. He was obviously speaking to those of that generation, and it's a little bit difficult for us to understand that type of language, but what we do understand is somewhat the same thing that they were perplexed with then, is that, well, how can you be born again? That's kind of paradoxical. Well, if you continue along with the video discussions that we've already had, especially about the path of the first agreement, you know that we are actually living in the paradox. We're living in it because of being organic and inorganic, or material and spiritual, both of supreme importance at the same time, and that our life uses ordinary events to serve both aspects of our being. So we know on the organic side of our being that we are predominantly perceivers. We see as a primary sense, and this sense of seeing helps establish what the truth may be to us. We tend to believe what we see, and also we see to feel. That's the in the paradox, that is a normal circumstance, that we will see something and then we will perhaps empathize with it, and we will feel it after we see it. On our organic or our inorganic side, our more spiritual side, then it's the reverse of that. First we feel the truth, and then we see the truth all around us. But the essence of it is that on the inorganic side, we feel to see. So that's kind of the reverse of the organic side, where we see to feel. So on the inorganic side, we feel the spirit. We recognize the spirit by our feelings. We feel deeply within our core. We feel the truth, and then we see it, and then we can live by it. Well, these are both normal situations. What is also normal is that after birth, you start to become socialized and educated, and taught the ways of the world, and your organic side takes predominance. In fact, you had just left an inorganic situation, as in the beginning of the first agreement that you made, to come here and go through the 3D experience to gain awareness. You had just left that, and now after birth, it's almost like waking up in a different reality, a different state, and now your organic attributes in your senses take over, and the awareness part begins, and this is the beginning of the journey. Again, this is all normal. And pretty soon as you go through the years and the times of your life, you also find other things are normal about it. You find that there's suffering, there's difficulties, there's confusion, and to a great sense, a lack of purpose. We find that on the organic side, as we're growing, our emotions take hold. So both good and bad emotions tend to be a normal state for us. So they take us to lows and they take us to highs. And so we're happy, we're sad. And these are the things that we feel is best that our mind can comprehend this normal organic situation. Now, there are times when we use an alternative to actually affect our mind so that we can relieve ourselves or even escape this mental understanding of the organic situation. We might do drugs which affect the mind. It could be hard drugs. It could be alcohol. It could be marijuana. It could be mushrooms. It could be peyote. It could be many different mind-altering effects that actually artificially get us high. Now, sometimes from this artificial high that we've induced to affect the mind, sometimes we'll get glimpses of the spiritual reality, or sometimes we just use it to escape. But whichever way it goes, as the effect of those things wear off, then we're just back to our normal reality. But something very different happens on our spiritual side, on the inorganic side of our being. In our travels, in our journey, we might come across one incident where we gain an insight or we gain an awareness or we intuit, we feel something about the spiritual side that we know in our core to be true. So that's an awareness that we might get and we don't forget. In fact, now that starts to form a belief about the spiritual side. Just as on the organic side, we'll have a system of belief for how we recognize reality. Now we have gained an awareness about the spiritual side of what that reality consists of, or one of the attributes of it. And as we progress and travel further along and journey further along, we gain another awareness. And as we seek and search for the truth, then these awarenesses start to accumulate. And as these awarenesses start to accumulate, then you start guiding your life to actually affect how you live. You start to live by those awarenesses, sometimes to even override the belief systems of your organic side, which was normal. It may start to change your conscious structure. It may start to change your moral structure. But these awarenesses, as they accumulate on the spiritual side, awareness after awareness after awareness after awareness, and then they all start to then cohere to a sense of a greater understanding, they actually form a larger critical mass of awarenesses of the spiritual side. And at some point, your awarenesses of your spiritual side become predominant, and your actual understanding of reality and realities, the organic and the inorganic, the understandings of the inorganic become the normal. They become more predominant than the organic side. They answer more questions. They bring you more clarity, a deeper peace, a greater understanding. And then, like I said, as you start to live more and more by these accumulated awarenesses, they then become your normal. This new normal would be the essence of how we started out this video discussion. This would be born again. Because these awareness on the spiritual side that has become your new normal are taking you to heights where you see things, well, as we said in the beginning, the kingdom of heaven. You're seeing people as all being connected. You're seeing a compassion for their trials and travails. You're seeing, a love for their humanity and their being. So the accumulated awarenesses that have created your new normal have taken you to greater heights. Your awareness has been heightened. You're now living in a heightened awareness. And here's the bottom line of understanding all of this, and where our video discussion started out is to, are you enlightened, or how can you tell how far you are, or perhaps being able to feel some sense of determining the enlightenment of others that you run into. Well, because we are living in a paradox on the organic side, remember we talked about the artificial high. Well, on the inorganic side, you are in a state of a natural high. And this natural high of new awarenesses, or a composite of awarenesses, predominates the life and the relationships that you have on the organic side. So if you are living in an enlightened life, you're going to be naturally high all the time. That is just the effect of the new normal, where your spiritual accumulation of awarenesses have established you as living from inorganic and spiritual awarenesses more predominantly than the organic sensory awarenesses that are, for the most part, normal for everybody's life, until, as a previous video discussion described, they close that spiritual loop. And we'll talk more about these things in the next video discussion. And until then, peace, comfort, and awareness. Be blessed.